Welcome back. Today we'll be looking at graphing the function of f of x equals ax squared. Before we begin, let's write our essential question. We are wondering what are some of the characteristics of the graph of a quadratic function of the form f of x equals ax squared. Remember, f of x is in place of y. That means the function of x. So we want to know what happens when we plug in values for a. So for our first look, we are going to plug in a equals 1. So f of x equals 1x squared. But 1 times x squared is simply x squared. So you'll see it more commonly as just x squared. And this is called our parent graph. And our parent graph goes through the origin and back up. It faces up. We will be using this to refer to and compare all other graphs and how other graphs move compared to this one. So if other graphs move up, down, if they go left, right, if they get wider or thinner, this is what we're going to be comparing everything to. This is our parent graph. Let's see what happens when we plug in other values for x. Other values for a. What if a is between 0 and 1? If it's a proper fraction or a decimal, this is 0 is less than a, which is less than 1. So a is a decimal, a proper fraction. You'll see it both ways. Well, whenever we have a decimal plugged in for a, and we're going to be putting in 0.5 in this example, so we have f of x equals 0.5x squared. The graph gets wider. Our original graph was red, f of x equals x squared. This is our parent graph. Our new graph with a decimal or a fraction in front gets wider. Notice the blue is our new graph, and it's wider. I can't say that enough. It keeps on getting wider. And I just messed up my screen. Having technical difficulties, apparently. When it gets wider, it's called a vertical shrink. I know that makes no sense to me. It's called a shrink when it got wider. I wish I shrank when I got wider, but I don't. I just get wider. This is called a vertical shrink. Let's look what happens when a is bigger than 1. So 1 is less than a. So we're going to plug in a numerical value for a that is greater than 1. So f of x equals 7x squared is our example. Once again, our parent graph is in red, which is x squared. This time, we got thinner. So when we plugged in a value greater than 1, our graph gets thinner. And this is called a vertical stretch. The new graph in blue is thinner, and it's called a vertical stretch. Please don't forget to write your summary and then complete today's assignment.